So first we will talk about transport of materials in our body. We know a whole lot of material goes around in our body. How do we know? So, I mean, we can see some things in our daily life. For example, suppose you have a wound in your leg, right? And the doctor decides to give you an injection. The injection is maybe given in the arm. So how come the medicine is going in the arm where the wound or the pain or injury or whatever is elsewhere in the body? So that means somehow the medicine must be reaching the wound, right? So how do you think it reaches there? How do you think the medicine reaches the wound? Yeah, through blood, and some people are saying through veins. Let's just say blood carries it. So we all know that blood is our transport medium. I mean, a fact we have just absorbed over our life earlier, or maybe through formal learning, but it's something not so obvious to children. Neither was it obvious to humanity earlier. So it will be good if you're teaching this topic to children, first ask them such questions. I mean, for many of those children at early levels, this is certainly not a known or an obvious fact, right? Now, let's look at this. We drink water through our mouth, but it appears through pores all over our body. No, I mean, every inch of our skin. So once again, how does water from our mouth reach all over our body and all over our skin? So the answer would be, obviously, I mean, for those of us who know, it will be through blood. So the thing is, it's important to draw attention of children about all this. For children, this is something they may not have even thought about or wondered about. So it's good to draw their attention towards this. And we must be having a very efficient transport system in our body, because a lot of stuff travels around our body. Can you name some of the things that travel through our body? I mean, what kind of things? I mean, just talk about water, medicine. What else? Oxygen, yes. Food, yes. So digested food, right? Not like the rice and dal will not go through our body directly. So let's say nutrients or digested food. Waste materials. Which waste materials? Thakur Prasad is saying there's no sound. Manisha Assis, can you help him? So oxygen. Okay. Some people have said carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide, oxygen, food. Anything else? Urea. So urea is one kind of waste. What else? I mean, these days, when we go for blood tests, we get huge reports, you know, I mean, like hundreds of things. So Roma Bhutia said hormones. So blood also carries hormones. Sweat. So blood doesn't carry sweat, or sweat is not transported through the body. Instead, water is transported and some other materials which come out as sweat. So anything else you can name which travels through our body through blood, through our transport system? Sugar. Okay, so sugar is also digested food. So yes, sugar, particularly glucose. Yeah. Anything else? Just think of your blood report. Salt. Yes, absolutely. And not only one kind of salt, not only common salt, many kinds of salts actually. Anything else you can think of? Minerals. Yes. So many minerals which our body can directly take up, like some calcium salts or other magnesium salts and all. So nutrient, we can give it a general name of nutrients. By the way, I mean, this I heard from a very good teacher also, like the people from Delhi will know her, Reshmi. So Reshmi was mentioning that children find this word minerals very unfathomable. For them, it's a very dense word. Nutrients is also dense. I mean, but they can make some sense of nutrients. They've heard that, okay, proteins, fats, carbohydrates are nutrients, but minerals is even more difficult because, I mean, these days you get water in the market sold as mineral water. Then you keep hearing minerals are essential for us, minerals are essential for plants and so on. So what exactly is minerals? Can anyone tell me? I mean, if you have to explain to a child, what will you say? What are minerals? Friends, don't bother about being wrong. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's like if you will say something, then maybe others would add. So Dicky Doma is saying we will start from mineral water to start with and then talk about it. Okay, but then how will you explain the word mineral? What does mineral water mean? I mean, okay, we can, by name, we can say water that contains minerals. So what are minerals? So, you know, many of us would have a very vague notion of it. And children would have even a vaguer notion, anything from which we can get various elements. Okay, so B.S. Dahal has said, okay, science tutor has said minerals are those which contain magnesium, calcium, etc. Yeah, so actually these are, you can say, substances which we require in minerals are the matter, that's true, but we will not call carbohydrates as minerals or fat as minerals. So yeah, as Pema has said, nutrients which our body needs in very small quantities. These are like, yeah, that's true. If children understand elements, then you can say that various elements are essential for our body. So it's actually like various substances. If children understand molecule, you can say various kinds of molecules, which are very essential for our body in very tiny quantities. So these we call as minerals. So calcium is a good example. Calcium children would have heard of, calcium, iron. So you can say like calcium, iron. I mean, obviously we don't need as much iron as is there in this glass, but we need very, very tiny amounts. And sometimes that's even possible to get from by cooking in an iron vessel. So calcium, iron, magnesium, etc. So things that we need in very small, potassium, sodium, yes, absolutely, in very small quantities, and without which we cannot actually function. We cannot be healthy. But anyway, so you see, friends, there are like hundreds of substances actually circulating through our transport system, a very efficient transport system. And what is the transport system? Like all of you know, it is the blood carrying system, right? So like all the things that our blood carries and how it circulates through our body. And like here it says that these days our lab tests have become very smart. They can actually identify things which are in very, very tiny quantities and actually find deficiencies. Like you all know vitamin D deficiency or B12 deficiency or that vitamin deficiencies, mineral deficiencies, as well as very tiny quantity of toxins and so on. So let's now talk a little more about blood. So you see, if you prick yourself anywhere, I mean, here we have shown a finger, but suppose it's an arm or a leg or your face, anywhere blood appears. So just think of it. It seems as if the body is full of blood, as if a balloon is full of water. Similarly, our body is full of blood. Can you call our body a bag of blood? It appears everywhere. You prick anywhere, a small hole and blood appears. So is our body a bag of blood? What do you think? So two of the participants have said yes, but Meenakshi is saying no. It has veins, capillaries. Basically, what Meenakshi is saying, Dahal is also saying no. So basically, when people are saying yes, it's not as if there is a big bag in which liquid is filled with. Instead, Meenakshi, can you say what do you mean by veins and capillaries? What are these? Yeah, as Deepti Sharma has said, blood flows in vessels. Yeah, it flows in pipes, special pipes made for this purpose, and it's not a black bag. So how do we know those pipes exist? See, for a child, this can be a conclusion, I mean, something he or she may not have consciously observed and may think, well, blood is full everywhere. So how do you know that there are vessels? How do we know there are vessels? We haven't cut our body ourselves. Okay, surgeons may cut it, but we don't. Or maybe you have cut up animals and realized. But it's not so easy to see blood vessels. So how do we know that there are blood vessels? We can, like Diki Doma is saying, we can check the veins from outside. Can you show? I mean, can you show on screen outside the body where you can see vessels? What some people are calling as veins. Yes, so some veins are visible on the wrist. So, I mean, if you look at my wrist very close to the camera, I mean, bluish lines are visible. I don't know whether you can see, but I can see very clearly if I look at my hand. You can look at your own hand. As you get older, these start becoming prominent on the back of your hand. So in my case also, sometimes they show very, very prominently. Right now, when I want to show you, they are not visible, but yes, we all have seen these vessels. Okay, Priyanka has said very fine anastomosis of capillaries are present. I don't know what you mean by anastomosis. I'm very terrified, quite terrified of complicated names in biology. And think of it, I'm so old. So I would, it's a request to all biology teachers or biology people. Please do not use heavy words. I mean, biology is such a fabulous, fascinating subject, and we make it terrifying just by these heavy names. So please say whatever you're saying, say in simple words. So, and by the way, I mean, many of us know the distinction between veins, arteries, and capillaries. We will see that capillaries are not visible. We can't see capillaries. With our naked eyes, we can't see capillaries. Because of which there have been huge confusions in the past when microscopes were not available. People had weird ideas about blood. So anyway, Diki Duma is saying very complex for children. I don't know what you think is complex for children, but yeah, they can see that blood vessels are present in our body. So blood flows through vessels, but also, I mean, firstly, is it as if like somewhere a tap is open or some vessel is open or container is open or a bag is open, suppose our heart, and the blood flows and it gets used up? Is it like that? Is it a system Like you open the tap and your garden takes up all the water. Is it like that? I don't know what anastomosis means. So you'll have to explain it to me. Okay, so two people have said that it's a circulation. It goes round and round. It goes in a cycle. It's a closed system, like a loop. So blood travels through the body and comes back. Interestingly, this idea also is comparatively new, a few centuries old. Before that, people did not know that it starts somewhere and comes back there. Anyway, so we will soon see that. But right now, I was trying to say that our body is not a bag of blood. So actually, the story of the history of blood is actually very, very interesting. You can see William Harvey, a scientist, and look at the time he lived, like 1600 something, from 1500 something to 1600 something. And at that time, people actually had very different views of how the blood flows because capillaries were not visible. Yashu Mishra is saying blood capillaries are broken when pierced in any part of the body except here and there. That's true, but it's not only that capillaries can be broken, even arteries and veins can be broken. Depends on how much, where the wound is and what has been cut. So, I mean, there are three kinds of blood vessels, we know that, and capillaries are the very tiny ones, very, very tiny, microscopic. They can't be seen. So because they can't be seen, it was not easy to see that blood starts somewhere and comes back. On top of it, doing any experiments with a living body isn't simple at all. I mean, you have to cut open a living body without letting it die and then do experiments, which Harvey did. Harvey did, for example, on snakes. Snakes, because snakes' skin is loose, so he could cut open snakes with the snake's heart beating, and he put clips on certain vessels and put clips on other vessels to see where the blood was flowing, from where to where. Prakash Sharma is saying we can relate the distribution of blood to water distribution system in towns. Absolutely, from the main tank, except that this is not a circulation system. Prakash, I mean, in a town, it's the distribution ends there at the last point. So people actually, before Harvey, people actually used to think that blood starts somewhere in the body, flows and gets actually exhausted at the extremities. I mean, so blood is coming somewhere from inside, and at the end of my fingers, it's getting used up. The way a town, city water distribution system works. But for a circulation system, you will have to give example of maybe a water fountain where like the same water circulates with the help of a pump. Again and again, it rises and falls through a pump. And since our system is a circulation system, so it must have a pump. Which is the pump in our body? So it will be good to give that example of a fountain, maybe, or any system where water or liquid circulates. So what is the pump in our system? If it's circulating all around, it needs a pump. So yeah, heart is the pump. Heart is the pumping machine. And how do you know that heart is pumping? Can you feel the heart's pumping? I mean, it's, of course, here the heart beating can be heard. On your chest, heart beating can be heard. But elsewhere in the body, in rest of the body, can you say that the blood is coming through pumping? Dicky Doma is saying pulses, pulse. So many of you have said pulse rate. Excellent. So I'll soon come to pulse measurement, but let me first finish with the story of Harvey. So Harvey was one of the few early scientists who did experiments on the circulatory system and applied his reasoning and to established that blood comes back, and whatever he said was against the authority figure of Galen. Galen was that time a very well established authority in medical field. So anything Harvey said actually challenged Galen. So you can see some of those ideas, some of the existing ideas at that time were that liver generated blood. People thought liver was so large, so liver must be generating blood. Heart, they thought, was for heating purposes. Heart supplied heat, that's what they said. And lungs, because lungs had so much air and lungs like inflated and deflated, so they thought lungs were meant for cooling. So many of these ideas were there. And see, we now can't say that those people were stupid. These were our forefathers or foremothers. It was just that whatever was visible was from outside, or they could make conjectures about it. They could make guesses about it. They guessed, right? From whatever they could see from animal bodies, or whatever little they could see inside their own bodies. And here's an interesting fact. Michael Servetus was actually killed at that time when he challenged these ideas. He challenged authority figures, he challenged the prevalent ideas, even in science. So it's not as if in religion people have been killed for challenging authority. In sciences also, there have been scientists who have lost their lives just because they tried finding how the world worked or how our body worked. So things now we take as very trivial, as given. I mean, you or I may think, well, what is there in the heart pumping blood, or blood flowing through arteries and coming back through veins? But some people have put in their lifetimes of work, and some have even lost their lives to establish what we know today. So here's one very, very interesting experiment by Harvey. This is worth showing. And look how brilliant this experiment is, because it can be done on a living body. So here's a human arm. If you tie a very tight rope here, which is written as ligature here. So if you tie a very tight rope, the thing is, in our bodies, blood comes in, like from the heart, blood comes in through arteries, which is shown as red because it's as bright red, because this is carrying much more oxygen. The color is brighter, so it's shown through red color. And then after circulation goes back through veins, so veins are darker in color, not exactly blue, it's dark red. So suppose you tie a very tight ligature here, so that the blood in both arteries and veins gets stopped. I mean, it cannot flow anymore. The flow is stopped. So what you will see is, within a few minutes, even half a minute, the artery would start swelling up. The artery would become red, swollen, and starts throbbing. We'll just soon come to why artery throbs. So you see, that shows that blood is coming in through arteries, because it cannot go further. It's stopped, so it starts filling up here. And vein, of course, remains like becomes insignificant, because vein doesn't have blood also coming back. But if you were to tie the same ligature, not very tight, somewhat loose, not very loose, not very compressed, so only that much tight, so that only a vein gets compressed, but not artery, because arteries are deep seated. Arteries are quite inside. They are never at the surface. Our body doesn't want to lose arterial blood. So arteries are deep inside. If suppose this is not very tight, blood will go through arteries, but cannot come back through the surface vein. Vein is on the surface, it cannot come back. So what you will see is this result, which is shown here. The hand will start getting blue and swollen. I mean, deeply colored, not exactly blue, deeply colored, swollen, and the vein will swell up, showing that blood is coming in but is unable to go back. So just by such brilliant experimentation, he did loads of them. This is only one of them, which is so clearly visible. Through this, he showed that arteries bring fresh blood and veins take back blood. Is this clear from what I explained, or is there anything which is not clear? Yeah, this is an excellent demonstration. I think. So yeah, so Harvey was the first one who actually did these experiments to show, to actually prove his point, to actually show that this is how blood is coming in and going back. It's not that people accepted him fully. I mean, even after he proved and he wrote down in his books and all that, because Galen was so famous and Galen was the authority figure. So people did not accept Harvey's ideas, but this has happened with scientists through and through history, that slowly people saw the value and worth of their ideas. So, but is there anything which is not clear and I need to explain again, or this experiment is understood properly? Shall I proceed? Dicky is saying yes. Others, like if others are okay, friends, please feel free to stop me if something is not clear. So, uh, so as you can see, there's been quite a lot of struggle to establish the ideas that we know. As of today, we know and it's been established that blood comes in from the heart into an artery, which are deep seated into the body. Why should an artery be deep seated? Why do you think the artery is deep seated? Deep inside, we normally don't see arteries on the surface of our body. Why do you think it will help our body? Okay, Vicky Duma has said blood flows at high speed. Meenakshi said blood is flowing at high pressure. Yeah, so Mr. Dahal, so you are saying that artery does not get injury. So why should the artery not get injury? See, veins are on the surface. So why is the body allowing the vein on the surface but not an artery? So why, the artery should not get injured? Why? So as Meenakshi said, the blood is flowing under pressure here. Why should it be under pressure here in the artery and not in the vein? Vein is taking back to the heart. And the in-between connection is through capillaries, which I said are so tiny that they cannot be seen with the naked eye. They are microscopic. So this connection is actually not seen. So what is the harm if the artery gets injured? Yeah, as Tashi says, it may lead to blood loss. Even veins can lead to blood loss. I mean, we do get our veins punctured when somebody is trying to like give us intravenous drip or something. But with artery, the danger is more. B.S. Dahal is saying because artery carries oxygenated blood. Is oxygen so valuable? After all, see, air is full of oxygen. Our body keeps taking fresh oxygen. So a little amount of blood will not carry so much oxygen. So is oxygen the primary reason why an artery should be inside? Prakash Sharma has said to meet the high demand of cells, blood flows at high pressure. And B.S. Dahal is saying also food. I'm saying, see, it's not as if that the venous blood has no food. Priyanka or Ola is saying veins are also two types, superficial and deep. See, my question is something else. Why are arteries deeply seated and not veins? To withstand the blood pressure. Amrit Kala is saying, See, basically, there is, if, because the artery is carrying blood at high pressure, I mean, it's like being pumped directly. I mean, where, suppose you are pumping water into pipes. So close to the pump, the water will be under very high pressure. So in arteries, the blood is at higher pressure. How do we know that the blood is at high pressure in arteries? Can you give me some evidence through which we know that blood is coming at high pressure in the artery? Science tutor is saying it's exchanging materials. See, blood everywhere is exchanging materials, even in veins, even in capillaries. The exchange of material is not stopped suddenly. Yeah, so Sudha Rai is saying due to pumping action of heart, how, yeah, so as Dahal has said, this pumping action of the heart can be felt in arteries. Can you tell me where? Where can we feel other than the heart? Of course, heart goes thump, 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 but Prakash Sharma is saying external environmental factors do not affect the flow of blood in the arteries. The external environmental factors, for that we have the skin, we have the flesh, and so on. Arteries are seated inside. See, veins are seated outside. So it's like basically the blood is at high pressure in the arteries. So if an artery bursts, you know that people, to commit suicide, people cut up their arteries. Because if an artery bursts or cut, a whole lot of blood at pressure will flow out. The blood loss would be too sudden. It will be strong, not so much from veins. We will see why. Okay, so as Sudha Rai and Dahal have said, at the neck and wrist, we can feel this thumping action of the heart. See, we have only a few surface arteries, and on those surface arteries, this, because the heart is going thump, 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 it's like push, 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 push. So that push, so because of that, the blood is coming in pulses, in thrusts. So that pulse is felt in our hands or in our neck. So this is showing that with every push of the heart, as the heart goes dhak, 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 wherever there is artery, there are very few arteries in the surface. So one of them is this. So how many of you have measured your pulse rate ever yourself? So actually the pulse rate is showing us the rate of beating of the heart. So how many of you have measured it here? So, okay, let's do it right now. Even if you have done earlier, start a stop clock if you have, or just take the seconds needle of a clock or a watch. And what you are supposed to do is take like 3-4 fingers and put your fingers here. You will have to feel it a little, I mean this area a little, with 4 fingers at one place in your hand. You will feel that little tick, tick, tick going on. So which you have to measure for half a minute, 30 seconds, half a minute, and then mention it on the chat box. So let's all do. So one answer is 40. So I got 41. which means my heart rate is 82, the double of this. So you can double it to see your full heart rate also. So 38, 35, 35. So double to see the heart rate. So a lot of people are in 35, 36, 39, that range. 76. Okay, so Tashi said 76 is the double. Yeah, so I mean, lowest so far we have is 70. Let's see what is the highest. So far highest is probably 80. Yeah, so right now we are in the 70 to 80 range. No, no, oh, mine is 82. So 70 to 82. Anyone having higher than that? '74. So none of you are very anxious people. Anxiety increases the heart rate. 82. So nobody has gone beyond 82 so far. The class is currently without anxiety at all. Everyone is calm. These are excellent rates. So, I mean, let's say, let me write that. So 70 to 82 so far. That's very, very normal. This range is very normal. So per minute, and this is, that doctors measure it with often, especially traditional Vaidyas in the Ayurvedic system are very particular about this. But there is also one artery here where the pulse can be felt, and there also people measure one artery, which is somewhere here in the neck, right? Now we'll do an exercise, and particularly for the enterprising people here in the group, stand up. I'll not do it. You have to do it. Stand up and jog for half a minute. All the enterprising folks who are still young at heart. Stand up and jog. It would be very nice if we could see on the camera some people jogging. I'll have evidence that you are doing it. Can anyone start their camera while they are jogging? So if you've done it and you're tired, sit down. Sit down and measure your pulse again for half a minute. But this will apply to only those people who have measured it earlier. And once you have measured, you have to write on the chat box. So 53 in 30 seconds, please double it. So 90, 92, 53 means she has reached 106. 106. So science tutor is saying 5 square, I don't know. So, okay, so 46 means you have reached 92. So 92, some people have reached 104. Anybody else? So maximum people have reached is, okay, somebody has reached 88. 30 second, which means 52. I mean, I don't know. So please double and write. So 94, 95, 108. So maximum we have got so far is 108. So it's so amazing. Just half a minute of exercise makes your pulse shoot up, right? So we got probably from 80 now, I think 80 to 108. The range has certainly gone up, and very clearly you can see how much it has gone up for you yourself. But every single person, Seema Bhutia cannot hear. Manisha Assis, can you please help her? So Tenzing has said 53 to 75. I didn't understand. So if it was 53 earlier, it has reached 75 now. Or 53, 75 is half. Assis, you can also tell her maybe she can leave and come back again. Because maybe she's already on audio but can't hear again. So she can, or she can check her, of course, her net connection. So, so friends, this is so amazing. Why should your heart decide to pump faster when you are jogging? Why do you think your heart starts, it increases its beat immediately, even when you are not tired? You're jogging and your heart starts beating faster. Why? Prakash Sharma has said to meet the oxygen demand of the cells. Who is demanding oxygen when you are jogging? Who requires more energy? Dicky Doma? Cells, which cells? The cells are all over the place. Which cells? Muscles. Basically, essentially your leg muscles are demanding more oxygen. Why should they demand more oxygen for energy? Is oxygen energy? What will they do with oxygen? To activate the action. How will they activate the action? Only with oxygen. Oxygen is in any case surrounding us. So much oxygen is there, but what will they? Okay, so Priyanka has said breakdown of glucose. Yeah, so for the body's primary method of getting energy is burn glucose with oxygen to make a chemical reaction of glucose with oxygen. So your muscles quickly need to burn glucose now, and they are demanding more oxygen. So the heart starts pumping more. Yeah, as Prakash has said, oxygen breakdown of the carbohydrates, which is mainly glucose. So to release energy. Yeah, so sudden energy demand, more oxygen is needed and the pulse rate goes up immediately. So pulse rate actually shows you the body's condition also. I mean, like under any stressful condition, when your body demands more energy, your pulse rate goes up. That's almost under similar reasons it goes up when you are anxious. I mean, your body thinks that it needs to fight or flight, needs to run away. Whenever there is stress or something that threatens you, your body thinks that it has to either run or fight back. I mean, our primitive instincts. So stress also causes your heart rate to go up. So friends, to hear our heart, I mean, of course, the best thing is a stethoscope. It's like so loud and clear, and we have a stethoscope here, but then to have it in your home or classroom is not easy. So there is this, I mean, there are some more like crude stethoscopes that can be made. They are there on the net. This is one kind we have made. So you just take a plastic funnel and behind it attach a flexible rubber wire of any kind whatsoever. But these two should be in, there should not be air space between the funnel and the rubber pipe. So, I mean, we have attached it strongly with the help of a tape. And now if I keep it on my heart, so you have to adjust a little, keep it in the right place and put it, you have to adjust, and in a very quiet place, if you try listening, you will be able to hear in one particular place, particularly. This is not very sensitive, of course. And people say the sensitivity increases with by if you stretch a balloon here. So that, and put it inside your ear, and you will be able to hear your faint heartbeat, but only if there is not too many sounds. So we used it as a classroom device, but in a classroom, it's difficult to have so much quiet. So, I mean, if you can keep your children very quiet, then children would also be able to hear their heartbeats. I mean, it's pretty fascinating to hear your heart thumping inside. So this can be one of the devices you can use. Now, friends, we'll come to our circulatory system. So, so here in this session, we'll be showing you the major other systems the circulatory system interacts with. So you can see it's showing here, this is a crude diagram showing that there's the heart which is pumping blood, and from the heart, like the blood is going to lungs to do what? It's giving away carbon dioxide, waste carbon dioxide, which it has collected from the body, rest of the body, and gathering fresh oxygen here. So the blood, when it comes out of the lungs, it's like it's having fresh oxygen, which is so vital for the body, and the blood color changes. The color changes from dark red to bright red. It's not from blue to red. Blood is never blue. It's dark red. Normally in textbooks it's shown as blue, but it's dark red to bright red. So here, from the respiratory system or the breathing system, if you like, it captures oxygen, gives off carbon dioxide. Then it interacts with, somewhere it interacts with the excretory system, the kidneys, and gives away all the nitrogenous waste, primarily urea, uric acid, ammonia, nitrogen stuff. So that's given to the kidneys, and extra water is given off, so that which is carried out of the body as urine. And all along the way, it is interacting with various cells, call them cells or collection of cells as tissues, or if you want to, If children don't understand cells and tissues, you can tell them organs. So it's going into all organs, every single organ. Blood is going and supplying what it has. What does it have? It has oxygen. Also, it has nutrients which it has picked up from the digestive system when it interacts with the digestive system. So digested food or nutrients is captured from there. So that as the blood circulates through the body, through different organs, tissues, and so on, it's exchanging, it's actually giving off nutrients, it's giving off oxygen and taking the two waste. One waste is the nitrogenous waste, the other waste is the carbon dioxide. So this is kind of a crude diagram, but there is a little detail which gets added. So first, I mean, you can see that, I mean, well, in simpler animals, how does it work? This is a fish heart, which has only two chambers. You can see two balls here, two circles here. So atrium and ventricle. So I mean, you can see it here. Blood coming in here first comes to atrium, which is the collection chamber. So the blood comes from the rest of the body, gets collected here, and there is a valve on both sides. Here you can see there's a valve, here's a valve. So first it will be collected and the valve will remain closed. After that, it flows to the ventricle. They were also historically called auricle and ventricle, or atrium and ventrium, whatever name you like. So this is the pump. The pump is not the upper chamber. The upper chamber is just a collection chamber. The lower chamber is the pump, and it has fat walls to do that job. So the ventricle will push it to the main artery. So in a fish, only one atrium, one ventricle. So one collection chamber, one pumping chamber. So blood comes from the rest of the body, collects here. Here it's pumped and goes. And somewhere along the line, it passes through the gills in a fish to get oxygen so that it becomes oxygenated, bright red. Can you tell me, just one auricle and one ventricle would have some disadvantages? What could be the disadvantage? It's a very simple system. But can there be one difficulty in this system? Yeah, intermixing of blood, correct. So it's like basically the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood do not remain separate. So all kinds of blood with fresh stuff, fresh oxygen or fresh nutrients, and blood without all this will also, both of them will mix up, and this combined blood will come and will be pumped. So it's like always combined. So this is inefficient. You can see that body parts will receive, will also have to be supplied by blood which is not really full of oxygen and nutrients. Very deficient blood deficient of, I mean, blood which has lost much of its oxygen will also be going to body parts. So it's a wasteful system. So because the two kinds of blood mixes up. So then there's a slightly more improved, somewhat more improved system in a frog, which with 3 chambers. So the 2 collection chambers are separated out, but the pumping chamber is 1. So you can see one collection chamber is like collecting deoxygenated blood, the blue blood, where it has lost its oxygen. So this collects it, then goes to the pumping chamber. Similarly, the pumping chamber throws blood, pushes blood to rest of the body and also pushes blood to the lungs. And then lungs oxygenated and then come to this other collection chamber. And again, this collection chamber passes it on to the pumping chamber. So pumping chamber pumps to both the sides, to lungs as well as rest of the body. So a single pumping chamber. But a human heart, human or in higher mammals, this is like now a more efficient system, that it is called a double circulatory system. So two collection chambers on top and two pumping chambers below, and the blood never mixes between them. They are separate. So you can see here, okay, here the blood is, this loop is going through the lungs. So this pumping chamber pumped blood to the lungs, lungs oxygenated it, and this oxygenated blood came back to this collection chamber, and from collection chamber to this another pumping chamber, which pumps to the rest of the body, right? So double circulatory system. See, this is like kind of complicated for children to understand or follow. So see, whenever you make biological diagrams which are slightly complicated, children will get troubled by the shapes, etc., complicated shapes. So what we do is we make schematic diagrams. So a schematic diagram, I'll make a schematic diagram, you will make it with me. So please take a pen and paper and I will show it on the tab. So I'm spotlighting tab. There's a window called tab. So I'll spotlight it. And those of you, who are seeing from the camera, from the mobile, will have to pin it. So so what we do is, first we'll make a heart with 4 chambers. So please make 4 chambers with me. And actually these two, the upper ones are the collection chambers and the lower ones are the pumping chambers. And we'll have, we'll have 2 valves here in between the upper chambers and the lower chambers. So if you are drawing with me, so the pumping chamber on this side is actually sending blood to the lungs. So you can we can make lungs here as another box. And let me write lungs here. So this chamber is sending, this pumping chamber is sending blood to the lungs, and the oxygenated blood is coming to the collection chamber here. So, okay, I should have used red here, but it's okay. You can forget the color, just draw it. So this blood from this loop is from one pumping chamber and coming to the collection chamber. Right, so this is the first loop. So if we call this as 1, now after 1, the blood will go to the chamber 2, where the valve will open. So we'll open the valve later, but from the collection chamber to the pumping chamber, the blood comes. This is now fresh oxygenated blood, gets collected here, and the valve closes. The valve will close. Now this will move through the rest of the body. So you can make 2-3 stations on the way. So through which it passes. 3 stations actually. Now here let me use blue, though colors don't matter. I mean, say you can draw it with a single color. So three another stations here. So this station is the intestine, small intestine. This is kidney. And this is all organs. You can call it organs, you can call it body cells, all body cells. We are showing in one place just for the sake of convenience. They are obviously not in one place. Oh, sorry. So kidney, and now from kidney, it is going to the second collection chamber. So it is like, this is the stage 3 and this is the stage 4. When this will get collected in this collection chamber, this valve will open and the blood will come here. And from now this pumping chamber will throw it to the lungs. So basically one loop is for all of the body, from this pumping chamber to collection chamber. And this loop is for the lungs, from the pumping chamber to the collection chamber. I mean, this process I will show on a board with actual concrete objects. See, when there were face-to-face classes, we used to draw this on the ground and make children, convert children into blood. So children used to go around this and all along the way in all these stations, they would receive something or give back something, which will be clear. थोड़ा और पास इसका कैमरा उससे दिखाएं क्या? Maybe we should Mingma Sherpa is saying this session is for teacher or students. Friends, we are actually teaching you pedagogy. Many of you would have the knowledge. All we are teaching you is how do you teach it to children. So that's why it's for teachers. And of course, you can directly take it to, this can be done directly with children, and we do it with children. We do it with children also exactly the same way, but with you, we are doing it because we are showing you. Right, so actually this diagram, if you have made for yourself, maybe we should show it with a mobile phone. Somehow tab is not giving a very clean picture right now. I'll just start it on my mobile. I don't know why this camera is not showing a very good picture. Yeah, I'm just trying to correct that. I've put another device. That device is with my name only. So I'm spotlighting it. Yeah, this is much clearer. So you can see the diagram. And if you have drawn it, then we will utilize this for a small role play. I mean, in an actual classroom, we do a role play like this, but in a virtual classroom, we will move materials through this, some materials through this to show how our circulation system works. to show various exchanges or to show blood, what we will do is, I hope you can hear me properly. See, we will take this a little, I mean, you can take a bottle cap, or I've taken a little box in which I'll be placing things and like adding or removing things. This is representing the blood. When children are doing it, the children are, themselves become the blood and stand here. I mean, in the actual role play. Prakash Sharma, like if we keep it that way vertically, which means like the rectangle, the longer side, that way, then you will see it smaller. That's why I'm forced to do it this way, but doesn't matter, you'll understand. So here's blood which starts in the lungs. So what we will do is initially give blood some oxygen from the lungs, right? And for oxygen, I'm using rajma seeds, which are kind of dark red in color, but okay. I mean, I had nothing brighter red, so, but you can take any seed or any object which represents. So this is oxygen. So in the lungs, the blood received oxygen, and now it's moving in from the lung. It comes to the first collection chamber of the heart, and currently this valve is closed. So I'm just keeping a stick here to show that this valve is not open. I mean, it first allows the, oh, this is running away because of it's very light, so it's the air is meddling. But anyway, so first the blood fills up in this chamber, then the valve opens and lets it in. So the blood goes to the pumping chamber, the second pumping chamber, and the valve closes so that there is no backflow. So now the pumping chamber gives it a solid push. So the blood is pushed into now the main artery or aorta, the main artery which carries the major blood, and now it passes to the whole of the body. Right now we are just, for the convenience sake, we are showing only a few stations, but all organs receive blood as this artery subdivides and then goes into capillaries and so on. So in this small intestine, what we are giving it is digested food. So and we are taking something green color, which is peas. So the small intestine gives it digested food. And now this nutrient-rich blood and oxygen-rich blood now travels through the body. I mean, currently still into arteries, and as they branch out into capillaries, so all the body organs, tissues, cells, they receive this rich blood. And what do tissues need? And when you were jogging, you needed oxygen. So all body tissues need oxygen to survive. So they take oxygen from the blood, and instead they give off the waste carbon dioxide. So right now I'll show carbon dioxide with the help of chana seeds. So carbon dioxide is, which is already generated inside the tissues and cells. It is given off to the blood. And similarly, nutrients are also given off here in various body organs and cells and tissues. So all the nutrition and oxygen is given off, and wastes are taken in, which is currently carbon dioxide and nitrogenous waste. So nitrogen waste we are showing as urea, and urea which is collected from here. So this is urea I am showing with the help of yellow dal. So it has taken two wastes: nitrogenous waste, which is urea, and carbon dioxide, which is this chana seeds. And now this blood, which is deoxygenated now, and with nitrogenous wastes, travels through the kidneys. So in the kidneys, it gives off the nitrogenous waste, which is not only urea, actually, urea, uric acid, ammonia, but depends on, I mean, which level of syllabus or curriculum you're teaching. You can say whatever the textbook tells children. So it gives us off this nitrogenous waste. And now this deoxygenated blood now travels to the other collection chamber, and where the valve is closed currently. It will remain closed till the chamber fills up, and then the valve will open and let the blood inside the pumping chamber. Valve closes to prevent backflow. I mean, another thing we can also show if we want is veins also have valves. So if you want, you can keep small sticks here. Okay, I'll just keep this right now. She's getting me sticks. You can keep sticks here to show that veins also contain valves, so that there is no backflow. See, veins, by now, after traveling so much, the blood doesn't have that much pressure left. Arteries have a lot of pressure because the blood is directly pumping from here. This pumping chamber is directly pushing. But here, much of that push is lost. So veins have to have valves to prevent blood flow. So instead of valves, I'm now keeping matchsticks actually. So these, I mean, see, they will be, okay, let me start here. I mean, the valves keep opening and allowing blood to flow, and then the valves close to prevent backflow. At every stage this happens. So veins also have valves, and of course, after the collection chamber receives blood, the valve is closed, but when this collection chamber fills up, it opens, allows blood in, and valve closes again to prevent that backflow. So this deoxygenated blood now flows to the lungs, where it will give off its carbon dioxide and take fresh oxygen in, right? So this is how you can complete the whole cycle of blood flowing through the system. I mean, in a classroom, we actually, like I said, we draw it on the ground, and these materials are represented by colored ribbons. So oxygen by red ribbons, carbon dioxide by blue ribbons, digested food by green ribbons, and urea by white or yellow ribbons. So children themselves carry, receive, give materials. Children become valves. Children become volunteers standing in these places. And believe me, this whole exercise is so enjoyable in a classroom. The children actually fight with us to turn them into volunteers. Every child has to become blood. So the power of this role play, I mean, here also it's a role play, but here you can make children do it with seeds on their own notebooks. This has, like, a role play has multiple advantages. Firstly, is there any question about this? I mean, or is the process clear? Firstly, this whole thing, is it clear, or you need me to clarify something? Prakash Sharma, surely we will send this image to you. Okay, Dicky is saying, can I explain once more? So I will quickly explain. So here, this is the first station, lungs, where blood, this is blood which has received fresh oxygen, which is Rajma seeds, and moves from lungs to the first collection chamber of the heart. Once the collection chamber fills up, the valve opens to let blood into the pumping chamber. Valve closes to prevent backflow. Then the blood moves to the digestive system, where it receives digested food. So you can keep digested food here, which receives it, which is acquired here. Then the blood moves to the various body organs. All the body organs are represented by a single box here where the digested food is given off as well as oxygen is given off. And instead of this, wastes are collected here. So there are two wastes. One waste is carbon dioxide, which is given by the body organs to this blood. And the other waste is nitrogenous waste or urea, which is given off here. And this deoxygenated blood carrying waste now goes to the veins. And veins have their own valves to prevent backflow of blood. So veins, the valves always let the blood in and close to prevent backflow, because veins do not have so much pressure. And as it reaches kidneys, it gives off its nitrogenous waste, and of course some water also, but right now we are not showing water here. So all the nitrogenous waste is given out here. And this deoxygenated blood now travels to the lungs, the collection chamber of the heart. And the valve opens, allows this blood in, the valve closes. Now this pumping chamber, the second pumping chamber will pump it to the lungs, where the cycle is repeated again. So you can start the cycle from any part of this. Normally we start from lungs because it's easy for children to understand how the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide is taking place. So is there anything you want me to explain, or it's clear? Okay, friends, so I'm removing this spotlight, and like I said, this exercise, I mean, you can make children in a online mode. You can make children do it on their pages using some seed or any small thing, any trivial things. Actually, it would be even better if I had something blue for carbon dioxide and red for lungs. But I mean, see, if you try for specialized materials, half the class will not have, so it doesn't work. It's better to have something very trivial, simple, which is very easily available in the surrounding. That's why we use kitchen seeds. And in an actual classroom, in face-to-face classroom, like I said, this is drawn on the ground, and children are actually made to move as blood, and all the four materials are represented with colored ribbons. So red ribbons for, and the colors are important because they help memory. So red ribbons for oxygen, blue for carbon dioxide, green for digested food, and white for urea, white or yellow for urea. So actually, I'll show you on my screen that this is called a role play. So now this is the adapted version of a role play which I was showing you with seeds. But the real role play has actually been filmed through another project, another NCSTC project, and I have the link here. So this link actually is of this same film. We have still to upload it on the YouTube, because still getting a little finalized. I mean, we'll soon upload it on YouTube, but I can share this link so that you can download and use. It is currently on our drive. So I am posting this link. Wait. I have two links, one of respiration role play and one is of circulation role play. And I'm posting both of them on chat so that you can actually use both videos. I mean, they are for you, they are meant for teachers, and we will soon put them on YouTube. We upload on YouTube. So, and this is basically in Hindi, but with English subtitles. So you will understand the actual role play. Similarly, this is I am also putting the next one. Yeah, so you can copy these two from the chat box. Actually, friends, like I was just saying, children enjoy role plays hugely for multiple reasons. The film also says it in short. The advantages of a role play is, firstly, it's understood very easily. I mean, something which otherwise you explain the heart with its complicated structures and how, the various portions of the circulatory system and their functions and all that. Instead, just a half an hour role play in a classroom can make it clear for every single child. But you will have to ensure that every single child either does it with his or her hands or participates in the role play. So it's particularly helpful for shy children who never speak. But here in a role play, everybody is active. They have a role. They actually have a role. Instead of a passive listener, a student becomes an active doer, which is a huge advantage. And it becomes like play. It's actually play. So children love playing. So they participate with great enthusiasm. And if you make them into heart valves and you make them into volunteers to stand on the kidney or small intestine or tissue or lungs. So they in fact fight for these roles. You can keep exchanging. So make your whole class into blood. So at a time we'll send 4, 4, 5, 5 students and rest of them are volunteers and then exchange their roles and things like that. So in an actual role play, everything is done with the help of ribbons. So this has been one of our very, very successful role plays. We have plenty, but this one has been very successful. And like the whole class understands the system in a very short while. Right? So any questions? Otherwise, I'll move further. Okay, so let's move further. So I only wanted to show here is again another link, which actually is for medical people, medical students, but shows the working of the heart beautifully through an animation. So that's why I'm just starting it, and I will show you. I'll share my screen. Can you see this? No. Wait, I'll have to share my screen to show this. Can you see? So friends, you can see the 4 chambers of the heart here, as well as the 2 valves and their functioning, and actually how it's generating a normal heartbeat. And in fact, this site, in fact, even gives defects of the heart, various defects of the heart. So, I mean, it's very educative for people like us as well. I mean, it's like I said, it's meant for medicos. And it actually shows, you can see that the 2 pumping chambers have fat walls, fat, thick walls, and the central division is also fat and thick, and actually blood is not allowed to cross it. Whenever there is a hole in this central division, then people get into very serious disease. So, so I will put this also on the chat box. So I put it on this one, but this is a very nice site. It gives various animations of defects of the heart, various kinds of defects, including what happens when a heart attack comes and etc. Or the heart becomes weakened or some function gets weakened, and how a heartbeat becomes irregular and things like that. Okay. So actually, I'm done with the heart, or rather the circulatory system. So I'll move on to respiration unless there is any question or comment or anything. Okay, so since there's no question, let me move to the respiration. So these three links have been posted for you. The thing is, respiration, we did not find a schematic diagram good enough for this, but we have a model, which I'll just ask Parul to bring. But I'll first explain and then show the model. We do have a role play, an actual role play, which I have already given the link to you. So here, basically, one thing which children need to understand is that the first, this is the lung, and as the lung starts in inhalation or its inflation, the process is started by the diaphragm, which is a muscle, big thick muscle sheet, and the diaphragm is curved. Normally, it contracts and flattens, and the front and the back portions of the lung cavity expands, allowing a lot of air to come in. And you can ask children like what all is there in normal air. So Vivo 1803 is saying class 7 NCERT textbook, a nice diagram there. Yeah, of course. The thing is, see, of course, we should use textbook as a resource, as a good resource. Only thing is, textbook should not be the only resource. We should use diagrams, but diagrams are static. The one problem with diagrams is they are static. So if you can show things with some kind of movement or process, that is far better for children because it's much more interesting. Then you can show exchanges. So as the air fills in, basically the air is doing exchange with the lung cavity with lung walls. So oxygen is going into the blood and carbon dioxide is given out. And then the reverse process of exhalation starts where diaphragm contracts and the air is expelled out. So, and the whole cavity actually becomes less in volume. So the thing is, the discussion to have here is what does the inhaled air has and what does the exhaled air has. So what do you think? What is the composition of the inhaled air and what is the composition of the exhaled air? What are the main gases in the inhaled air and what are the gases in exhaled air? Like as we were saying, oxygen is CO2 is present in both. Anything else that's present? Anything else other than oxygen and carbon dioxide? Yeah, inhaled air contains all the constituents of air, but there is like some constituent which doesn't change at all. Yeah, all components of air are there. So when the air comes out, what is the component which doesn't change at all, which is the bulk of air actually? What component doesn't change? Yeah, nitrogen doesn't change at all. It's only oxygen and carbon dioxide which actually their quantity goes up or down. So I mean, when inhaled air has normal oxygen, which is about 20%, but when in exhaled air also only nearly a difference of 4% is made. It's not as if the blood is in such a short while. In one breath, it's not even possible for blood to absorb all the oxygen. So some amount of oxygen is absorbed, and rest of it anyway comes out. And carbon dioxide also, initially there's very little, 0.03%, but a little bit of it increases in the exhaled air. So children, you can show the two compositions of air before inhalation and before exhalation, and ask them to figure out, I mean, how it has changed. How do we know that lungs have taken in something and passed out something? Of course, if you can generate lime water by yourself, it's very easy though. Today we are not showing it. Generation of lime water can show you immediately that exhaled air has much more carbon dioxide. I mean, you just blow into lime water and it becomes milky. But otherwise, well, to show the process, this is the model. So we have, you can see that we have cut a bottle, and the lower part of the bottle is fitted with a big balloon. So this balloon has to be big and a little strong. And the upper part of the balloon, bottle, we have fitted a smaller balloon, like fitted it like that, like fitted on the mouth of the bottle and taken it inside. So now this represents our diaphragm, and this represents our lung. So if I take the diaphragm below, you can see that the lung, can you see the lung expanding and contracting as I take the diaphragm up or below? Because taking this diaphragm below means the lung cavity expands. So the balloon inside expands because of air pressure dropping. And the same balloon, I mean, let me try showing it sideways. It's not very well visible on your camera. But can you see it collapsing and expanding? I can even hear a sound as if somebody is breathing. In fact, it's sounding like that pranayam people do, no? Where quick pranayam sounds. I can hear that because this fellow is like taking in air, throwing it out, taking in air, throwing it out. So this is an easy model to make. So this you can make. Also for the same, this process of inhalation, exhalation, and the process which starts with the diaphragm, and then expansion of the lung cavity, and then the diaphragm contracting, and then lung cavity collapsing. This also can be done with a role play. So we don't have a web version of it, I mean online version of it, but the actual role play is the second link which I have put for you. So you can see it can be done in actual classrooms, and that one is great fun. Actually, much more than understanding it. So much more than understanding, children enjoy doing it hugely, because children holding their hands actually make the lung walls. They make a lung wall. One line of children make the diaphragm. Children make air, and in the hands of air, children who make air, we give either ribbons or any colored object, some object showing oxygen, some object showing carbon dioxide, and some of course nitrogen. And some children become blood. So the blood children have to do the exchange, air children have to rush in and rush out, and the lung walls have to expand and collapse. So this whole thing is actually great fun in a classroom and leads to a lot of laughter. I personally think science classrooms should be much more fun and much more laughter. Science should not, serious knowledge or serious science does not mean serious expressions. So having some amount of laughter, fun, and play is always good. But of course, as a teacher, we have to ensure that the learning is never compromised. I just wanted to ask, what is the difference between respiration and breathing? Roma Bhutia says her student has made it excellent. So those of you in whose class this hasn't been made, you can get it made by children. It's very simple. It's a good science project. And somehow in our system, we don't encourage simple projects, simple science projects. In fact, somehow showing off with science projects has become the norm, at least here. I don't know about Sikkim. But science projects should be actually simple enough so that children can understand everything that's happening. Then they will be really proud of their science projects, which they understand. Projects which are made by parents or by shops are actually completely useless for learning and teach actually deception to children, which is the more dangerous part. So at times, schools do it, or parents do it, or somebody does it. So children are encouraged to do science projects which are complicated. Believe me, I have experience as a parent. So when my child was in class 6 or 7 or maybe 8, I don't remember. But other children were making very complicated projects which they had asked their parents or somebody else just to impress in a science exhibition. And I made my child do something which she could completely understand thoroughly. So when the judges came, she explained it so well out of her own personal knowledge and understanding. And she answered all questions, whatever they asked, she explained how she did it. And the judges were really impressed because it was it was her genuine learning. So science projects should be like that. Instead, somehow we have got into a culture of, at least here in this part of India, gotten into a culture of science projects which are meant for showing off knowledge which is not children's. Okay, so some people have started answering this question. Breathing is external. Breathing is exchange of gases between lungs and nostril. Respiration is oxidation of glucose in the cells to release energy and CO2 as byproduct. Excellent. So yeah, breathing is a physical process. Respiration is a chemical process. Excellent. Great. Great. So yeah, so I don't need to add this here, anything here, because many of you know it. So now I will go to. So friends, one thing about videos I wanted to say, that videos generally, I mean, there are loads of such videos on YouTube mostly. So they are good for children only after you have explained everything. Normally a short video like 2-3 minutes or 4-5 minutes will have loads of information. And if as teachers, especially in an online class, if we just give videos, it doesn't serve any purpose, because children won't be able to absorb so much information in a couple of minutes. So it will be, it becomes very rich if you first explain everything nicely using some good pedagogy, taking time over everything, and then show the video. Then video acts as reinforcement of whatever you've done, and children are able to visualize, connect to it, and also imagine, then see and imagine what you are saying. So videos should be only the last thing done in a class. Teaching should never be done with the video. I mean, and even if you try stopping in various places, it doesn't work. So other methods of teaching are definitely better. Now coming to the last part, which is the excretory system, how urine is formed and how it goes out of the body. Actually, the picture normally used in NCERT and in other textbooks is actually pretty complicated. This is the simplest picture we found. It is so simple as to work as a schematic diagram. So you can see that an artery brings blood and goes out of the glomerulus. The kidney has these small capsule kind of things. So this artery comes, divides into capillaries, and goes out as vein. And this is surrounded by, there is a cup-shaped structure which has a tube below. So there is exchange of material between this cup and the capillaries here. So this cup actually extracts material from the blood, which is water, nitrogenous substances, some glucose, and etc. But the interesting part is the body has such intelligent systems that extra material is taken out here, but the blood vessel comes back and takes back whatever is excess. Whatever the body doesn't want to throw out is absorbed back here, and then it goes back to the vein which is leaving the kidney. So basically, coming from an artery into capillaries and then into veins, in between there is this cup-shaped structure or capsule which absorbs whatever is there to be thrown out. So kidneys are actually structures which are visited by an artery, and a vein exits from there. Plus this yellow tube is the one which ureter, which takes all the material to be thrown, which is normally water plus nitrogenous waste, which gets collected in the urinary bladder and is thrown through the urethra. I mean, if the diagram is simple, it's easy for children to understand. Normally, the diagram in textbooks, including the NCERT textbook, is very complicated. So we are only arguing for making simple diagrams. I mean, either if you can convert, if the diagram is simple enough, self-explanatory, that's fine. Otherwise, you can make schematic diagrams. So we have tried quite a lot here in circulatory system, but in many other places, we make schematic diagrams where we show things as boxes and show exchanges between them with arrows. Arrows or by movement of concrete materials. Concrete materials are very easy to understand for children. Instead of abstract words which have not really made sense to them as of now. So if representation, if abstract quantities or things, suppose even urea, the word like urea, uric acid, whatever, you represent with a concrete object, any concrete object, that representation helps children visualize and understand. So that's why we recommend their usage at the introductory level. When you are teaching all this for the first time, use of these helps.